Hi again. Um, in this video, I'll be running the basic commands again. We'll do a little recap and then we'll go further to the next topic. On the left hand side, you can see my notes, and on the right hand side, I'll just run my commands. So the first thing I want to say is that Docker container run and Docker run are actually same. In the previous video, you can see that. It's just that people don't want to type the complete command, which is Docker container run. Container is a hidden word, and you can just say Docker run. Uh, Remember, the switch D is a daemon mode and also called as detach mode. So it's just a daemon which is saying I'm running in a detached mode, which means that it lets you give the console access. Basically, the container runs in the background. Um, I'll just let's say if I provision a container, you would, and if I run the command uh, docker ps, docker ps would show me the active connections, and -a would show me the active as well as the exited ones. So the containers which are exited, but I haven't any yet, so you don't see it. But in coming commands, I'll just show you. Now over here you would see there is a container ID which is over here. Container ID is a specific number assigned by the container D, and it is not static, and it is a unique one. So every time I provision a container, it will come up with some other number. Um, so I'll just show you again. You would see that it is always a unique number. So, and all the metadatas, all this IDs metadata is actually stored in a particular place, which is var lib docker containers. So you can see that their GUID or their container IDs are actually seen over here. Mind it, it's not the data, it's a metadata. Now, what is the command heading? The command heading, image heading talks about the image you're running. The command heading actually tells you that when you run this particular container, what is the command it runs in the background. So how would you know that what are the commands given by the Nginx community? So if you come here, you would see that there is a particular set of commands being written. So, for example, it is running the bash mode. That's why you get the access. You get the terminal access, the shell access, right? And that's how you get to know. And this is the place where you can see that there is a command. It's like when you in Windows, when you do a sysprep, you can define what all, when the machine is built in, when it's ready to be deployed, what is the, as soon as it boots up, what are the commands you want to run on it. The ports, it tells you about what port I'm listening on. So Nginx is talking on 80, right? Now, for container, all these three, um, all these three, um, all the three containers are actually not for the container D service. So this is a Docker machine, right? Which if I show you again, so um, sorry. So this is a CentOS machine, right, which is acting as a Docker host. Now on the Docker host, I'm running these three containers, right? But for the Docker host, this is nothing but a process, right? So if I do a psef, you would somewhere see that Nginx is running as a process, correct? So that's how it identifies it. Um, if you want to get into a particular container, right? Let's say you want a shell access. So you would say well, 11, and then so you will say docker execute minus hyphen interactive terminal, and give the container name, and it you want a bash access for that. We already saw that this container is based on Nginx, and it has a bash terminal inbuilt in it, right? So if I show you this, what is this container based on? So you would see that this container Nginx is based on a raw image, which is Debian. So they took a Debian image and they configured on top of it, they configured Nginx, and then it is now a container for us, right? So if I exit from here and if I just say Docker history Nginx, sorry, if I first show you the images, right? And if I want to see history Nginx, you would see that bash was there. That's why I was able to go inside the, the container using executive command. You can go inside, or you can with the executive exec execute command, you can run your commands outside from the container. You don't have to go inside and run it. For example, you want to touch or write anything, um, inside the container, you can do it by sitting on the Docker host. I'll show you in a few minutes. And if I want to stop my container, um, this stats command actually shows you the statistics, which means that this particular Web 11 is exposed to all of the Docker host CPU and all of the Docker host memory. As you can see, it's not running, utilizing any of it, but it means that the Docker host has given all of it to the container. Now, if there is a process by which there is a incoming topics, I'll show you how you can assign a particular resource and not all of it. But what I want to say is mention over here is that if I stop Web 11 and if I do a start, it takes time. Sorry, you would see, by the way, that it has stopped, but the memory and CPU is zero now, right? And if I start it and if I do a start again, you would see that it is occupying around 2 gigs of memory, right? So um, start and stop, basically it releases the CPU and memory just like a virtual machine, but your disk also remains your data remains intact. It's only when you remove a particular container, your container your files of the container will delete until and unless you have defined a separate path for the disk. If I want to remove a particular Docker, then sorry, container, then I'll just say Docker rm web1, for example, and then so it gives a message that the container is actually running. What you have to do is you have to stop it first, and then you remove it, right? That's how you remove it. So rm is used for removing. If I do a Docker ps, you would see my active connections. Now, if I say Docker stop, let's say Web 11, and if I do Docker PS, you would see only one of the containers, and the inactive one would actually come up over here. It says exited 6 seconds ago. So that's the difference between PS and PS switch minus A. I'll just start my machine. Now, if I want to see the process, for example, um, what all process it is running. So I'll say Docker top web 11, for example, and it will show me the process running within the containers. So you would see that there is a parent ID, which is the root, which is the Docker host, and the rest of them are so 28020, and rest of them are the child process which are actually running within the container. um, if I want to inspect, for example, what is the environment it has, what is the IP address, what is the file system it has. So I'll run docker inspect, and you would see these are the locations where it is storing the data, right? And if I come up, you would see somewhere it is telling about more information about this particular Docker. So if I show you, um, yeah, that's the IP address. Ignore for the timing, just ignore how it is, why it is picking up 172, right? We can ignore that, but yeah, if I just show you the Docker host IP address, you would see that it has created a virtual Ethernet, I would say, with the range of 172. Just like in when you configure VMware Workstation, it creates a network. Something similar it does over here, but I'll explain it later on. So that's the one. Now, how would you view the error logs of the Nginx? The one way is that you deploy the container and you go inside the Nginx, for example, path, and it is actually the same place. If you before the container came into picture, uh, the path remains the same. But you can also do if you're sitting on a Docker host and you want to see the logs, you would see all the logs using Docker log. So what all commands have been executed, so you will see all of them over here. Now, how would you? Now I'll just delete all my Docker machines, and then I'll show you the Docker system df command. But before that, what I'm trying to say is that Docker system df command, it tells you the space it is occupying. So the container are two, and they are occupying somewhere around this much of my size. And the images are three, and they are utilizing this. Why is it active one? Because we just use these two Dockers are running in Nginx, right? That's how it shows you. If you want to stop all your containers, instead of going one by one, you can run this command docker stop $, and then run this command. This will actually stop it. And if you want to remove all your containers, then you will be running -f, means forcefully. Um, sorry, I missed the bracket. So if I show you docker ps, there's nothing running. And if I just show you the system command, you'll see the size is 0 for my containers. Now this is where it shows you the container size, but mind it, container doesn't have any size. It actually mounts the image and in a read-only mode, and container size will increase when you start writing data onto it, right? You can I can show you with an example. So there is this dummy command which actually puts data into the container, and then we can check the system df command quickly. So at this point, you can see that size is 0 in the terms of container. And what I've done is I have provisioned web 12 as a container, and I'm going inside the container. Now, when I go in, I can just say, I'll just quickly run this command. Before I do that, I just show you the size right now, right? So I exit, I do a system. You would see that the container is occupying just a few KBs because it mounts the image in a read-only mode, right? So what I'll do is I'll go inside it and run this command to add some data into it, which it has done, like somewhere around 50 MB. I'll exit it, and if I just come system df, you would see those numbers over there. So like I said, it will increase when you start writing data onto it, right? One important thing, that why do we give the D switch? Now, D switch is because if you don't give the D switch and run the container in terminal mode, it will actually take this console, the working console what it means is, for example, if I try to provision a new container, let's say this is the container name and it runs, this is the console. And if I want to access this container, either I make another SSH session and then access it, or I'll have to do a control C. As soon as I do it, it exits. So you will see that it has exited. Um, my container has exited just few seconds back. Now, is there a way that I can get out of this container without exiting? Yes, you can do that. So on your command prompt, if you do a control PQ, um, yeah, if you do a control PQ and if you say Docker PS, you would see that your container is running. So the command is control plus P plus Q, right? And if you want to attach, if you want to connect to this container, if you want to go to the console, you say control docker attach web 123, and it will actually connect you back. Now let's understand a little bit about raw images. So raw images are the images which is like an operating system, for example, Ubuntu in my case. So I have downloaded an image called Docker images, and there is an image called Ubuntu, and we can configure it to with any application and then produce that as a container. Now, first, we need to understand how we get inside this particular raw image. So the command is docker run interactive mode and then name, give it a name, and then say Ubuntu. When you do that, you will see that you are inside. Now, once you are inside that particular container, um, this one, I'll just say, I'll just exit and show you. Yeah. So what we have to do is that you will have to run the command docker run interactive mode name of give it a name of the for a container and then give it the image name. When you do so, you would see that you will be getting access, the bash access, and then as soon as you exit, you would see that this particular Ubuntu OS1 is not showing up. Now that is because when you do a Docker history Ubuntu, you would see that it only had one command, which is inbuilt command, which is bin bash. So as soon as you exit, this Docker container stops, right? So is there a way that I can do that without exiting it? So the switch is D. You will just say D and then, sorry, I have to give a different name. Let's say 11. You would see that this one is actually running. So what you're doing is you are running Ubuntu image as a container and you are inside that Ubuntu image now. And then if you want to get in, then there is another command I'll show you. The command is same, docker execute interactive mode, container name, and bash. And that's where you would see that it is running a bash mode already. So why, if we exit now, and if I just show you docker ps, you would see that it is still running. Now that is running because when we executed the container, we use the switch D, which is a detach or a daemon mode, and then it runs in the background. So if you want to go inside, you go inside the same way as the bash command, like we used to for a normal container, and then you can edit or put in whatever applications you want to put in the Ubuntu, and then you can publish it. We can do that later on, but that's how it works. One last thing, like I was saying, that execute command, so you can run it from outside without going inside. Let's say um, I want to create a file from sitting from Docker host. I'll just say docker execute interactive mode container name .abc, and it will not give me the bash access. Now, if I go inside the bash access, you would see that I already have that ABC over there, right? Thank you. In the next one, I'll just show you talk about variables, and then we'll take it further from there.